Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. This is our bigger show where we show you a bunch of the books that we think you'll want to know about when you go into your comic book store this week. If you're wondering about what are these new number ones, what's up with the X-Men, where's the old Moon Knight, we'll let you know about all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
So did I do introductions?
Yeah.
Okay.
We said our names.
Yeah.
Matt and Andy, just in case we didn't.
Yeah,
It's the new year. We're still adjusting to
you
2024.
have to people who are like, my New Year's resolution is to watch more comic related videos
Yeah.
and find out more about the comics that are coming out. Well, we appreciate that, and that's what we're here to help you with. So, before we begin, if you are new here, definitely hit the subscribe. If you like good comic talk about new comics, we always try to stay positive because there's a comic for everybody. Even if we don't love something, there's probably someone out there that we can try to connect with that book that could become their favorite book. So
Yep.
that is what we're here to do. And head over to infinityflux.net where you can order these books if you do think one of them sounds right down your alley. And you can order it while supplies last. And everything you pre-order on there, you get 10% off of. So just good stuff all around. But we're going to get into this week, which, Happy New Year. This is the first new, it couldn't be any earlier for our video.
That's right.
It's a Monday, and it's the first, and these are your new 2024 comics coming out for the first week of January. So let's get into it, because we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to start with Vengeance of the Moon Knight #1, hot on the heels of Moon Knight #30, which came out last month, which was the end of that run. It's not that big of a spoiler to say that Moon Knight allegedly died in that one.
Considering the whole story arc was called
Black Days of Moon Knight, yeah, and it was being marketed that way too. Now I say allegedly though because we didn't. It was one of those where like he was in a building and he was all beaten down, but then from far away you see the building explode.
Yeah.
So we didn't see the body. So it's
heroes go through worse.
Oh yeah, for sure. But we are led to believe that he did die because in this one, a lot of the heroes come together to mourn him. They have a funeral. I can't remember. It's a traditional like a Jewish funeral, but I can't remember the name of it. It's really well done though. Like it's really it seems like it's how these things actually work. But after all of that, Moon Knight's friends, Reese and Soldier and Eight Ball and Tigra in Hunter's Moon, they are continuing the work that Moon Knight was doing at the Midnight Mission. And they're all just kind of like out in the streets. There's a scene where they're out in the streets helping some people running away from these demons. And Reese and Soldier and Hunter's Moon, jump in to help them. Meanwhile, Tiger's kind of off doing her own thing because just like we didn't see Moon Knight's body, we didn't see Black Spectre die either. So she's still on the hunt for Black Spectre to get revenge for killing Moon Knight again, allegedly. But along the way, we are introduced to a new Moon Knight who you see on the cover. This is exactly what he looks like. Now, we do not know who this Moon Knight is. This issue does not tell us who this new Moon Knight is. Reese thinks that it might be Mark Spector, because he's died before and Khonshu's always brought him back, although Khonshu is locked up in Asgard, I think, right now. So
it's complicated.
It's complicated, but one of the through lines of the last series was this is the last, if I die, I'm not going to get brought back because Khonshu is mad at me and whatever else. But Reese thinks it actually is Mark Spector come back, but she says, I think he may have come back wrong. Like something may be a little bit messed up with him because this new Moon Knight is not happy that his house, the Midnight Mission, is full of vampires and ex-supervillains and things like that. So even though they were all his buddies, whoever this new Moon Knight is not happy with the current status quo. I kind of think maybe it's like, what if it's kind of like when the death of Doctor Strange, that miniseries where Doctor Strange died, but then like an earlier copy of him came out, but he didn't know. He's like, oh, this is a copy of. It's like a backup of Doctor Strange, but only when he was around for like year one, for the first year, and he didn't know all of these new characters. I wonder if it's something like that with Moon Knight, where he doesn't know all the the progress that these characters have made and things like that. I have no idea. Like I'm just guessing at this point.
Is there any chance that it's related to who was wearing the suit in the Timeless book? Doesn't sound like how his personality
I
would
don't
be,
think
but
so.
it is interesting we've gotten like a couple of different Moon Knights
Yeah.
now.
I don't think so because that character would know who these
Yeah.
characters are, I think. So but I don't know. I mean like there's no telling, but you know, you have to read to find out. But it was very good. This was a very good next chapter in Moon Knight. Like I really want to you know, see who this guy is and what are Moon Knight's buddies gonna do when they butt heads with the new Moon Knight. So very, very good. I quite enjoy this. And it's by the same creative team of Jed McKay and Alessandro Capuccio. So it just feels like the next issue. If
So I'd
you're
say it kind of almost like when Daredevil by Chip
yeah,
Zdarsky restarted,
yeah.
and it's like, what's kind of just the
It's
same
it
thing.
is. It's just exactly like that. Or She-Hulk and Sensational She-Hulk. It's just the continuation. Like it's just the next story
Do
arc,
you think this
basically.
would be new reader friendly?
No.
Okay.
No, because it does depend. It does assume that you know what happened, at least in the last few issues of the last run. Plus, with Reese being a vampire and Soldier and why is Eight Ball there and
Yeah.
Tigra, where you know we haven't seen her in forever. Like it assumes that you know that these characters are. Now you could pick this up and read it and say, "Wow, that was really good. I want to catch up," and then
Yeah.
go read the last series, which is worth reading. So maybe it is a little bit new reader friendly, but there will be a little bit of
When
homework
we
to
say
do.
new reader friendly, that I feel like when we say that, it means like you could come in cold and not know anything. And we can do that with any book.
Yeah.
It just requires you maybe to do a little bit more research on your own to
Yeah.
figure out what's going on. Every book is new reader friendly
Sure.
if that reader wants to put in the effort.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, you know, when I was a kid in the 90s, I would pick up whatever number 312 and be like, wow, that was really good. I don't know what's going on. And then I have to go do my own research to find
Yeah.
out. So this is
You
kind of
pull
like
out your
that.
Marvel
Yeah,
Encyclopedia
that's right.
and
That's right. But I liked it. So if you are a fan of the last run, you will like this. I recommend it. So this is our A cover right here. We've got some cool variants for this one. We've got a really cool Greg Capullo cover. It's very cool seeing him do some Marvel characters. We've got this really nice foil variant
Mhm.
featuring your new Moon Knight. You can see it's all foiled out. We've got this really nice 1 in 10 Capuccio design variant. That's the new Moon Knight's costume. We're selling this one for $8. I love the weapons, like
Yeah.
the whatever these things are called. I like those. And then this really cool 1 in 25 Lionel Francis U variant that we're selling for $15. Yeah, it was a very, very good just next chapter in
Yeah.
Moon Knight. Just really good.
That's another good reminder, though, if you're on pull at your local comic book store
Yeah.
of the previous Moon Knight series, not every one of your stores is going to know that you'll want this new one or knows that it kind of is a continuation or whatever. So let your store know, one way or another, that you want to be on this new Moon Knight series and don't just assume that they're going to grab it for you because sometimes we get something like that and it's completely different. And we're
Yeah.
like, well, we can't just assume that someone wants this one. But since it does sound like it's kind of continuation, make sure to let your store know
Yeah.
you enjoyed the previous one and you want to get this new one. Now, speaking of some new stuff, we have Fall of the House of X. So this is uh the new bookend, which I feel like on the back end of the bookend of
Right.
the Krakoan age of the X-Men. So this is really cool. We talked about in our last video where we talked about kind of the end of the year review stuff, everything we enjoyed. One of the things I really liked is actually the fall of the mutants storylines that's happened since the Hellfire Gala, and this continues that. So if you've been reading, these are kind of good if you've been reading any of the different X titles that have been coming out. They feed into these in one way or another. The cast in this is very large, but it's very cool. So this picks up where Cyclops is actually going to be on trial for kind of the sins of mutants, what people perceive as all the terrible things mutants have done because they've kind of been blackmailed by Orcus all over the world, and he's going to go stand trial since he got his eyeballs either taken out or just sewn shut. I'm not
Oh, I
sure
remember
if they
that
were.
cover. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
So now he's got a visor, but there's no red streak in
Yeah.
it. And what's interesting is although like it's basically like he's walking to his death, like
Yeah.
he's not going to win this trial. He's very confident, and you have to read why he's so confident in it. But I did really like it. It felt very classic Cyclops, like I'm a leader, I'm on top of this. Also, if someone's going to take the fall or whatever, I'm going to be the one to do that. So that part's really cool. There's also a dream sequence that is really neat that you'll have to check out that is Cyclops' dream before he goes on trial that I don't know, has some fun little things, Easter eggs in it. But it looks like the X-Men have had a plan to rescue Cyclops out of this. Now, the problem with that is that would be seen by the world as a pretty bad thing.
Yeah.
This guy's going for a trial and the mutants. It's going to basically just like double down what people already
Sure.
think
Yeah.
about the
Oh, for sure.
mutants. But there may be someone else who has a different plan uh, that could eliminate all of that. We don't know what this plan is. I don't want to give away who has it, but it's kind of a spur of the moment thing. And when it happens, it kind of throws the other X-Men that were part of the original plan into like, okay, one of our members is missing, but we're gonna assume they know what they're doing type thing. So it's really cool, but that's left with a lot of kind of like hanging thread. So part of it was Wolverine and Colossus were in the sewers, and apparently the plan was like Kitty Pryde was going to come in and like phase Cyclops out through the floor into the sewers, and they were going to like escort Cyclops out. Well, now Wolverine and Colossus are left in the sewers, and now there's a bunch of like Orcus troopers that run after them. So you get some action in that as well, and it's really fun to see like, okay, now what are these teams kind of how do they pivot to
Yeah.
doing something else? But we do see that there is a big plan that has been in the works, it seems like for a while. And what I liked about it was I've been reading most of the X books off and on for the entire Krakoan era. Not every single issue, but definitely some of the big milestone moments, and especially since the fall had started at the Hellfire Gala. And what I really liked in this was there was a lot of storylines, like the Brood storyline that crossed over with Captain
Yeah.
Marvel. We had there was the storyline. It was still part of the Brood kind of thing, but where like Ford went through this kind of black hole into this another universe. He followed like one of the Krakoan gates, and they don't know where they were in like another galaxy and stuff. There's a lot of little storylines that there's been over past few years, and they've been good. But you've been like, okay, but like, what was that? This feels like it pulls all of those together, where you go, oh, I see how you were doing the building blocks for what's about
Yeah.
to happen. And this is definitely I don't this is a setup issue, but in a like they're setting up for a big battle coming up that I can't wait to see. The art is awesome by Lucas Wernick. It's written by Jerry Duggan. Just a really good issue. So if you have been following any of the X-Men stuff recently, you'll want to pick this one up because it will address kind of your character
Yeah.
that you've been enjoying
Yeah,
along
and
the
the,
way.
the artwork too, like we were flipping through it right before this. I haven't read it, but just looking at it visually, the artwork, it's great. There's some
Yeah.
cool things with Colossus and Wolverine that look really cool.
Yeah,
Like I was
there's
impressed.
also just really interesting stuff with like if you've been reading Iron Man, Iron
Oh
Man
yeah,
and Emma Frost get addressed, Juggernaut gets addressed, Nightcrawler, what he's been doing comes up. Like all of the pieces are coming together. So, all that to say, if you've liked any of the X-Men stuff recently, or you're interested in like how all of this is going to be going down, definitely pick this one up because I thought it was a blast. And now seeing that cover with like Wolverine Colossus, they have some of the coolest moments in this.
yeah.
So definitely check this one out. We've got some variant covers for this. Of course, it's a big Marvel event, so you're gonna have a few.
I like that one too.
Yeah, so we've got this Mark Brooks connecting cover. This is one side of it. And so this is Fall of the House of X, and then the next thing we have
Rise
is
of the Powers of X or 10.
10,
Not really
yeah,
sure.
which I think is maybe next week.
Yeah, I
I
think it's
think they
coming out
it's
just
doing
like
the
Hoxpox did.
alternating
Yeah.
thing. We also have this really nice Inhyuk Lee variant with Kate Pride. She's taking on a really cool role in this.
Shadow Cat with a K.
Yep. And of course, like we always say, you can't start a series without a Scotty Young cover. Cyclops not actually able to do that in here, considering the eyes sewn shut thing. We also have this really nice Art Germ Magic cover. And lastly, we have a 1 in 25 Russell Dodderman variant that we're selling for $15 with Storm and Jean Grey, who Jean Grey's dead and Storm does not appear in this issue. So
But the cover
interesting
looks
there.
cool. Yeah.
But the cover's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool looking issue. Like I haven't been reading any of the Krakoan era stuff, but keeping up with all this Fall of X stuff through these videos and through you telling me, and like it's well done. Like this whole
Yeah.
Fall of X thing is really well done.
It's
Now
very
it's all
feels very
coming.
like orchestrated now,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
after reading this one.
All right, so next for me is a new book from Boom. This is called Pine and Merrimac. This is the first issue right here, written by Kyle Starks. The art is by Fran Galan, and this one was really good. I like this one. So this is about a married couple named Lenny and Parker Kent. They used to live in the big city. Lenny was a police detective. Parker was an MMA fighter for a while. But Lenny started to have some trouble with, she saw so much death and murder with her cases, the cases she was investigating, and she couldn't do it anymore. So they moved out of the big city to move into a smaller town. I believe it's a town she grew up in. They opened their own detective agency. And they mostly take cases that she's like, they even like narrate and say, this is nice because there's not a lot of death. We just take cases that are cheating spouses or insurance fraud or just quiet things like that. And they show a couple of, they give us a couple of examples of cases that they've taken on so far. But then there's a young couple that comes in begging for help, to find their missing daughter. And they initially, the husband Parker, he initially says, "I'm sorry, we don't do missing persons cases." And the reason for that is because when Lenny was a young girl, her sister went missing. Her
Mhm.
sister, who was also young, she went missing, and they found her a while later dead. So that just sort of, she can't really handle all the death, and she doesn't like missing persons cases because she says most of the time when you do find a person, they're dead, and
Yeah.
she can't handle that. But she sees the desperation in this young couple, and she says, "Yes, we will take the case." And so they start the investigation right away, and they pick up on some clues, some leads pretty early on. And as they follow those leads, they very quickly realize that this, what should be a simple missing, not simple, but like, I mean, it's a missing persons case,
Pretty straightforward.
pretty straightforward, but it may actually be much larger than they thought. It may go run deeper than they thought, and open up all these other doors and things like that. But we won't know what those are until some more issues come out. But it's a really good new uh, mystery,
Mhm.
mystery story that is a nice sort of breath of fresh air if you're kind of tired of all the superhero stuff. This is just a mystery, a who done it maybe,
Mhm.
that might get bigger and bigger as the story goes. So just a good new book. There's our A cover right
So
there.
no superheroes, no sci-fi,
Nothing.
no
No,
magic.
it's just a simple missing person story that might turn into something much bigger than that,
Feels like
eventually.
we don't have enough of those. They're like, you know, it's not trying to sprinkle something else in with it. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is a
And a lot of these kinds of things, like it's like, oh, it's a missing persons key, but there might be a supernatural element, like nothing even like that. It's
yeah.
it's at least for right now. It might end up being something later, but at least right now, there's nothing supernatural, nothing sci-fi, nothing anything. It's just, just hey, a who done it basically. So here's a really nice Jay Lee variant.
It's very Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, yeah, and it's Pine and it's called Pine and Merrimac because their office is on the corner of Pine and Merrimac. That's
Mhm.
that's where that's where it is.
Also, like his name is Parker Kent, which is like Peter Parker
And
and
Clark
Clark
Kent.
Kent
Yeah, I wonder
mixed.
if there's a little something to that. So we have this 1 in 10 Glon variant. That's your interior
I
artist.
like that art a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a good, the art. It's very stylized, but it fits the book.
Yeah.
We're selling that for $8. And then there's this one per store variant. I don't have the artist on this one, but we're selling that one for $15. That kind of looks like an old like pulp
Yeah.
novel, a story of love and lies. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. I like that pulp
Yeah.
setting.
Hmm.
It's a nice uh refreshing kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, and I kind of like the small town setting. I love stories set in small towns where everybody knows everybody else, and you can walk everywhere, that kind of thing.
It's a
That's kind of the
little
setting of
like
this.
Fargo
Yeah,
feeling,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah. It's a good book.
Speaking on the other hand of over the top, now we have Neil Before Zod. So this is a new, I think it's a maxi series from Joe Casey and Dan McDade, which I believe this is his first DC work, if I remember kind of what the early buzz was. Um, this is really interesting. It's going to be difficult to describe like, oh, the overall story is going to be this because I you kind of get introduced to like at least what Zod is trying to do. So in this, Zod and Ursa, who is his wife,
Hmm.
and their son Lore are establishing a new Krypton. Um, Apparently this came out of like some of the like Action Comic stuff. I don't remember like what this world was or how they got it.
Yeah,
But
I don't remember. I remember Zod being in there for a bit. Maybe was it maybe before all the Philip Kennedy Johnsons?
it had something to do with like the Phantom Zone and all of that, I
Yeah,
know. But you kind of all you need to know is there's a planet, and Zod's like, "Hey, I'm gonna make this a new Krypton."
yeah. I do
And
remember that vaguely,
yeah,
but I think it was a while back.
the problem with it is he wants to establish this, but kind of outside the rule of the United Planets, because he
Oh,
says,
okay.
they think that you get freedom and harmony, all this through like basically peace and understanding. He's like, but I know the truth. It has to be done through like an iron will and a
Uh,
fist, which is very Zod. But what it seems like on this planet so far is like there's not a whole lot of inhabitants. Like they do talk about one spot where it's like, oh, this is where these people have kind of set up, but for the most part, looks pretty empty. Like they're just starting this because one of his big plans is he's going to open up Candor onto the planet.
yeah, you know what? I was thinking about that when we did our last video. I was like, there's a whole like city, and it's crazy to think that Candor is still shrunk in a bottle. Like there's all this technology,
Yeah.
and it's still crazy to think that Candor is still teeny tiny in
Yeah, and
Fortress of
it's kind
Solitude.
of frozen in time. At least he
Yeah.
says like the people don't age or anything, but he wants to like reestablish Candor on here. So it's like
Oh, he wants to create a new Candor, or he wants to get the bottled Candor
he wants
and
to open the bottle
yeah.
and take everybody back to normal size
Okay.
and reestablish a Candor on this new planet. Uh, so the whole time you kind of feel like he kind of want like he's got a horrible way of doing it, but Zod's always been like very like pro Krypton.
Yeah.
Like he's very proud of being Kryptonian and he wants to bring back that Krypton. So that's really interesting. But he is running up against the United Planets because his planet's getting attacked by different kind of marauder alien species and stuff. And he's basically like, I can deal with it myself. And the United Planets keeps being like, if this keeps escalating, we're gonna have to step in. So Zod's dealing with that. The other big thing he's dealing with is his son Lorzod, who it feels like the most like how Damien was at the beginning
Okay.
of when Damien came back into Batman's life. He's very rebellious. He's very like, why don't you do more? You're this powerful. You should be out there like conquering the universe, not just doing
That
this.
reminds me a lot of kind of how John Kent was um, at the beginning of the Superman Son of Kal-El
Yeah.
series, where he was, but no, but he wasn't like aggressive about it. He was like, "Hey, Dad, why don't you save
Yeah.
everybody?" And he's like, "I can't be everywhere." And John's like, "I'm gonna save everybody," and that kind of thing. So it's similar but different.
Yeah. And he's that same thing of like he's a kid, but he doesn't want to be treated like a
Yeah.
kid. And Zod has something, I won't give away what it is, but there's something kind of orbiting or floating across the planet. And
Mm.
Lord Zod finds it and is basically like, why didn't you tell me about this? And he's like, well, you weren't ready or whatever. But it's a very, you get a lot of, it was reminiscent of like Omni-Man and Invincible.
Oh
They
yeah,
have a, like, Lord Zod and Zod Senior have a,
Zod Zod.
yeah. No, he does have a first name, which I guess I probably knew, but, uh, they kind of have a throwdown of like power and
Wow.
stuff.
Okay.
So that's really interesting. But so I don't know what the big story is going to be. Is it going to be about is Candor being open? Is it going to be about the United Planets and they're like trying to mess with this new city? Is it going to be about his son? Which it looks like his son may be absent for a lot of this. You have to read to find out
You know,
why.
we've got the Sinister Sons
Yeah.
coming up with Zod's son and
Yeah.
Sinestro's son.
So there's a lot of really interesting elements. I don't know how they're all going to piece together. But this is a very brutal book. You know, it's not Black Label, but it definitely it skirts the line of could being a Black Label, and it is in continuity. It's like, you know, they make reference to a lot of stuff that's gone on recently in the DC universe. So that's really cool together. And I'm interested to see where this series goes forward. Because there is like a, you know, a last page thing that's like, oh, that's interesting, but it's like I still don't feel like that's the big story. This is
Yeah.
just showing us a little bit more of like what level Zod will go to, you know, establish this planet. But I thought this was really good. If you kind of like that, like you know, the House of Zod and the family and keeping the legacy alive, and I could feel this being like an HBO show or
Yeah.
something. You'll really like this. Neil Before Zod, number one.
It makes me think of, remember the world, was it World of Krypton or World of New Krypton
Yeah,
from like the late 2000s
yeah, the
in Action Comics, where Superman went and lived there and he had the military outfit and
yeah,
all that stuff.
yeah. It's kind of like that, like kind of establishing a new
Yeah.
Krypton. And it would be bad news if, you know, Zod did establish this new one and it kind of is opposed to how Superman is.
Right, yeah.
I could see that being a big story later on. So we have this Zerdy variant with Ursa. We've got this uh Baron's variant. We've got this one's really cool. This one definitely feels like this would be like the HBO poster or something. This is by Colon. This is a foil
That is a cool
variant
one, yeah.
with like the family
Yeah, I like that.
there. And then we have a Sarmento variant. This is a 1 in 25 we're selling for $15.
Yeah, very cool. I can't wait to read that one. I like Zod.
It's very different, and I think that's refreshing.
Yeah.
It's a pretty dialogue heavy, but the dialogue is interesting.
Okay.
So it's, you know, and there is plenty of action. He does some very like over the top, like Superman if he had no limits
Yeah.
type thing.
Very cool. All right, so next for me is Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, number one. This is the next of Steve Orlando's Spider-Man
Is it
2099
his
series.
third?
Yeah, but I don't know if this is a mini series or an ongoing. I'm not 100% sure on that yet.
I think it's a mini series.
Okay, the other two were like 5 issue miniseries, I think. And then the art is by Devmalia Promenade. Now, one thing that surprised me is this is kind of a one and done story. Like by the time you get to the end of the book, the story in this book has kind of wrapped itself up. I don't know if there's going to be a through line later or lasting repercussions, but it's not like to be continued. And Spider-Man's like, oh no, the building's falling. Like it kind of sort of wraps itself up, and it's basically Spider-Man 2099 versus zombies, kind of. So there's a
Let me explain.
yeah. So there's a, I guess I don't know a better way to explain it other than zombies. And even on the cover it says versus the zombie of 2099, even though they don't call him that in the book. But I guess there is some kind of zombie outbreak in Nueva York, and Miguel's mother is one of the victims. So he goes to Blade 2099 because Blade 20, just like Blade is half human, half vampire, Blade 2099 is half zombie, half human. So he goes to get help from Blade, and they get one clue that takes Blade out to I want to say Nevada. I don't.
Nuevo Nevada.
Yeah, somewhere. Actually, it is a Nueva something, but it's out west somewhere. We're in Tennessee, so everything's out west to
Yeah.
me. But it's so Blade has to go way across the country to do something, while Spider-Man stays in Nueva New York. And the book just kind of goes back and forth with them fighting hordes of zombie type creatures. Um, the Spider-Man deals with the guy that kind of started it all, and I don't want to ruin the story, but like I said, by the time you get to the end of the book, the whole story has kind of wrapped itself up. And I will say it's not the typical happy ending, like, oh man, we saved the day. It's not really like all sunshine and rainbows at the end of the story. So it was an interesting way to sort of end it. And like I said, when I turned the page, I was like, oh, it's over. Like that was weird because how many one and done stories do we get these days? Not very many. But if you like the other two Spider-Man 2099 books from Steve Orlando, you'll probably like this one as well. The artist is different. I like the art in this one. Spider-Man looked really cool in this. So yeah, just another Spider-Man 2099 series if you're a fan of that character. So there's our A cover right there. We've got some variants. This is the Valdion variant. And we've got the one of the
I love
cool,
when Wolverine
yeah,
showing up.
a good old what are they called in the
Wolverine,
solicitations?
Wolverine,
Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Yeah, like I don't know
Yes.
why he's in there three times, but we've got that really cool Wolverine Spider-Man #1 homage variant, and then we've got this 1 in 10 Capuccio design variant. That's your Moon Knight artist that we're selling for $8.
Pretty cool. I kind of like the idea that they're exploring the horror side of 2099.
Yeah.
Because I know we've got like a Werewolf by Night 2099 coming
Well,
up, and
Dracula 2099 is the next issue.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, I've got Beware the Planet of the Apes. So this one's interesting. I will preface this by saying I'm not an aficionado on Planet of the Apes. I have seen the movies, but it's been a while. So a lot of these characters, I was like, is this a new character or not?
Yeah.
Wasn't sure. But I do know that this is actually set in the classic film universe. This is a prequel to the first film. It even kind of says that it gives you like the rundown of like the history of Planet of the Apes, which is basically all the classic movies, and it's like this one takes place before the first astronaut landed
Oh
on the
yeah.
Planet of the Apes. So this is by Mark Guggenheim, and the art is by Alvaro Lopez. And this is really cool because it found this very easy to get into. This was very a really easy read, and not that it was like dumbed down or anything, but I felt it flowed really well. So in it, Lucius is one of the eight kids, and he befriends a human woman who, of course, in this are kind of like either slaves or you know, they can't speak.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a role reversal thing in classic Planet of the Apes style. But when he's found kind of befriending this woman and protecting her, something happens. We don't even really know. We can tell maybe somebody spotted what he was doing. And so this was Lucius is the um, nephew to Zira, who is from the movies, and Dr. Zaius. They find out, hey, something went wrong, and the only connection they have to maybe what happened to him is this human woman who becomes Nova, who is in the movies. So they have to travel together into the Forbidden Zone because that's where she kind of points that their nephew was taken, and so it's kind of a quest to get him back. I thought it was really fun. It's cool because it's actually interspersed with artwork from panels and pages from Adventures of the Planet of the Apes, which was a classic.
Oh, so that because you were showing me like
Yeah,
there's some old school art, so that's
that,
from older books.
yeah.
Oh, I thought that
So
was just like a new artist making it look old school.
no, because I looked it
Oh,
up and it's actually some classic
it
art.
looks cool.
It's very
Yeah,
cool, and it actually feels like it weaves this story into that
yeah,
story because
interesting.
there's some panels that they kind of mirror that they show you and stuff. That was actually really cool. Um, but yeah, I thought it was fun. There's some fun, in the original one when you see the Statue of Liberty, it's like, whoa.
Yeah,
There's a couple of moments in here where you're like, oh, where are they? And then you see something recognizable. You're like, oh, I know where they are. That stuff's really fun. So if you're a fan of classic Planet of the Apes, I think you're really gonna like Beware the Planet of the Apes. It just feels like, you know, almost like how I don't know, we get stuff now that's like, oh man, this feels like it could have come out back in the 70s or
yeah.
whatever. It feels kind of like that, but just with modern art. I thought it was really fun. Beware the Planet of the Apes. And we have as a variant for it, we have this Harvey variant, which is very cool. And of course, once again, the Scotty Young variant.
We didn't have a Scotty Young cover for Spider-Man 2099.
Well, it's coming
Yeah,
probably.
right. I guess you can start a new series without a Scotty Young cover.
But I believe he's had a 2099 cover for the previous ones.
Yeah, yeah. I guess, yeah. So I guess, yeah. He already had his. All right, so next for me is Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries #1, and this is super fun. We've had a couple of other Batman Scooby-Doo miniseries, but this is actually an ongoing. And I know that I just said, "Hey, we don't get that many one and done stories these days." Well, this is one too, so we get two in a
They're
row.
kind of like episodes of the show.
That's right. And this actually did feel a lot like an episode of Scooby Doo. The Scooby Gang in this story visits Haley Circus, which is, Nightwing's old stomping grounds when he was a young Dick Grayson. Um, they're there because Mr. Haley, the guy who owns the circus, asked them to come because he thinks that the circus is haunted. And they think it's haunted by Dead Man, which is
Which
really
feels
cool.
like, well, then it's fine. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
Well, that's what I thought too. I was like, wait a minute, because they see well what happens is there's their star trapeze act. It's a guy named Zoltan. He's doing his routine and he goes for the swing, and instead of the other guy being there to catch him, he sees Dead Man swinging from the other one, which is cool because Dead Man was a circus like
Yeah,
trapeze
yeah.
guy. And the minute I saw Dead Man, I was like, "Oh, well, he's gonna help out with the mystery." But apparently, they think Dead Man is the one who is haunting. I was like, "Well, that's weird. And how can they see him and that kind of thing?"
They're like, I don't know. They're kind of buds, you
Yeah.
know.
But Nightwing shows up to help out. So it's mostly the Scooby Gang and Nightwing, which is pretty cool. And they put on this fake show in order to draw out this whoever, Dead Man apparently, who is apparently haunting the show. And from there, it just kind of plays out like your standard, Scooby Doo mystery,
Does Velma drop her glasses and have to
No.
roll around on the ground?
No, not that. That is in. That's going to be in Scooby Doo, the Black Label Scooby Doo book. But yeah, it just kind of plays out like a fun Scooby Doo episode. I will say though that the last couple of panels, like I was reading this, I was like, oh, that's fun, that's fun, that's fun, Scooby Doo. And then the last couple panels, like, oh, that kind of got me in the old heartstrings. Like, there's the last panel specifically, kind of really sort of made me a little bit emotional for a minute. So kind of unexpected. But it's like there's not much to say because it's just Scooby-Doo. But with Nightwing, it's cool to see him sort of interact with the gang and him do a trapeze act with Daphne. It's pretty neat. So just a fun book. It's kind of nice every now and then, just breath of fresh air, just to just read a fun Scooby Doo book teaming up with Batman. You don't have to worry about oh, Batman's dealing with failsafe over. No, it's just a fun Scooby Doo book. And I believe. I don't know if there's any. I don't think there's any
I don't
variants of
think
this
there
one.
is.
If there are, we may have already pulled them, but this is the only one that we have to show for this. But it's just a super fun book.
Yeah, there's not like a Matina variant of Scooby
Like
Doo.
a
So
foil variant of Scooby Doo, whatever.
no, but once again, we like to point out good comics for kids.
Oh, yeah, kid would love this. Yeah, for sure.
Uh, these actually sell really well, like
Yeah,
the Scooby comics, especially the team up stuff. And if you've just written them off like, oh, this is for kids, just try one out because
yeah,
I feel like a lot of people will find a nice palate cleanser in these
yeah.
titles.
And this one in particular, I was really drawn into it because of Dead Man. I
Yeah,
really wanted to know. Wait a minute, Dead Man's supposed to be a good guy. Is he really haunting? Is it somebody else? What's his connection? Like the Dead Man aspect really drew me into this
yeah,
one.
that's really cool.
Yeah,
Okay, next up for me, I have Titans Beast World Tour Atlantis. So I'm not sure how many more of these we have. I think we have
I think one more,
Star
Star City.
City.
Yeah,
It's the last one. So once again, like all the others, this is a collection of little short stories set now this time around kind of the Aquaman and family characters and dealing with the stuff of Beast World. This takes place, it says before issue 6, which I'm like, we're still pretty far out from that.
yeah. We haven't even gotten 4 yet.
Yeah, so I don't want to say there's spoilers, but there is a character that shows up and I'm like, oh, I guess they made it out of this situation okay, type
Oh,
thing.
okay.
So I won't give that one away, but we do have 3 stories. The first one is by Sina Grace and Frederici doing the art, which is really nice. He does a really nice take on Aquaman, where Aquaman takes on he calls him Tiger King Shark. So I think it's Tiger Shark, but he's been overtaken with it, and now because Tiger Shark's like normally like a normal sized
Yeah.
guy, but this is like a giant like beast version of
Mm.
Tiger Shark, so he calls him Tiger King Shark. That's a really fun story, and it kind of deals with what's been going on in Titans with Tempest and kind of his responsibility because of Brother Blood and all of that. So that was a cool story. And then next we have one by Frank Thierry and Valentin de Larandros, which feels very Jaws like. This is a story that uses Captain Boomerang, Vixen, and our new character from Lazarus Planet, Deadeye,
Right. Yep.
where something has happened to Black Manta and basically has turned Black Manta. Well, we know what happened to him, but his like beast form that he's been
Yeah.
turned into is a giant manta ray. And they say lines like, "We're gonna need a bigger boat." It begins with some like cops wanting to shut down the beach because there's been some manta. He keeps saying sting or manta ray attacks, and like the officer's like, "No, it's stingrays, manta ray, because of the barbed tail." But the mayor's like, "We can't close down the beach. It's summertime and the kids are coming out." So it's really fun. It's kind of a big Jaws homage or
Yeah.
whatever, but you've got the fun characters in there. And that one was really cool. But I think that one had my favorite moment, which is actually kind of feels like a little after the credits moment with in that story with Amanda Waller, who is doing some
Yeah.
experimenting with these Beast Boy Starros that involves one of my favorite DC characters, very underrated character. And then lastly, we have one by Megan Fitzmartin and M.L. Sinapo, which is Jackson Hyde and Mara, where basically they know all this Beast World stuff's going on, and so they kind of like locked down Atlantis. And Mara is protecting their new baby Andy, who's now like a toddler age. Uh, but of course, these Beast Boy spores are gonna make it there as well, and they got to defend Atlantis. I don't know. It's just really cool. Each of them, you kind of got the whole Aquaman family through each of the three stories. So, is it a necessity to read this if you're reading Beast World? Not at all. But if like me, you're a big Aquaman fan.
Mhm.
He hasn't been around in a while. This is a fun one.
A
That
nice
just a
supplement.
nice little supplemental
Yeah.
story to find out, hey, what are they doing during this storyline? So, and I believe we just have the one cover for that one.
Well, sticking with the beast theme, although I guess I don't know if you call these beasts, but we've got Marvel Meow. This is a bit of a thicker book, kind of got a little bit of weight to it. This is a reprint. This is a one shot that collects all 18 issues of
Wow.
the Marvel Meow Infinity comic from the Marvel Unlimited app. And you say, 18 issues, that's a lot. Well, each story is like maybe 2 or 3 pages, but just 18 different stories. They don't really connect. There's not a whole lot to say about each story because it's mostly just there's not really any dialogue, and it's mostly just cute and fun and quick little stories featuring various Marvel heroes and their cats. Mostly the cats. It's
Yeah.
mostly the cats who usually get into a little bit of trouble, a little bit of mischief, something like that. The artwork, looks about like this. It's just cute, fun little artwork. It's just fun. Again, it's another just like the Batman book, just a fun little book. And if you're a cat lover, you probably will like this
Yeah.
because there are a lot of cats, including Doctor Doom even has some little cats, little Doom
Little
cats.
Doomcat.
Yeah, but just a good collection of the entire series, all in physical form. And I do believe the last page or two, I want to say it's new to
Yeah,
this.
they did include an original story that
Yeah.
wasn't one of the digital
Yeah,
ones.
for sure. So yeah, don't miss out on this. If you liked the digital series, you want it in a book, or if you like cats, then that's the book for you. And that's our A cover right there. And then we also have this Zulo variant featuring a bunch of little cats.
Featuring dogs. What?
What? How do you get in there?
Okay, well, next up for me, I've got Star Wars The High Republic Shadows of Starlight, issue number 4. So this is our final issue of this miniseries. And before this miniseries started, I was excited about it, but I didn't really know what it was about. I heard that it like takes place between phase 1 and phase 3, that year span of the High Republic. But it's actually really cool because each issue follows different characters and what they were doing over this 1 year time frame after the Starlight Beacon space station fell into the water and kind of the Nile, you know, clapped and said, haha, that was us that did that. Everyone
Ha
be
ha!
everyone be scared of us now. So this one, probably my most anticipated one, is about Markion Rowe, who is the big bad of the Nile, who, which I love, had his first appearance in Star Wars High Republic Adventures number 2. So he's a big villain, and his first appearance was just in a comic. Um, but in this, we see like how Marchion Ro is a warrior and a fighter and that kind of thing. But he's not necessarily the best leader. So after the fall of the Starlight Beacon, they just throw a bunch of parties. That's the thing about like the Nile. They're kind of like they listen to like the Star Wars equivalent of like industrial metal, and they just have like these big parties and stuff. And he just sits there, and it's like for months, all these people do is party. It's just it seems like 1 month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, and the people are just still dancing
Nice.
as he just like slumps on his throne. That's where Girastaros, who, if you've been reading any of the books or anything, all these characters play big parts in those. But Girastaros, which this may be her first appearance in comics, which is also cool because we have in the main Star Wars storylines, we have Santa Staros. This is her
Oh yeah.
great ancestor who actually
Mhm.
sided with the Nile and was a politician who kind of turned on the Republic and sided with the Nile. And she basically comes to Mark John and is like, "You're a warrior. You're a king type thing. I'm a politician. Let me kind of shape this into something that actually like resembles some form of government." And so a lot of this issue is them going around and be like, okay, if we're going to establish like the Nile as a real thing, not just a bunch of space marauders, we're going to need people to help us. And that's where a lot of the fun comes into this. So we get the return of General Vise, who was a character that was in the Phase 2 storylines in the past. His first appearance was in Blade, which was a great miniseries. Uh, he joins the crew, but also a character I really liked in the newest book, whose name is Baron Boolin, who is an Ithorian or a Hammerhead character. But in this, he is a like a maniacal, sadistic scientist who likes to do experiments on people. And so they break him out of basically like Republic jail to recruit him. And I believe this is his first appearance in comics. So it's very cool to get that. So we've got a couple of first appearances in this issue. And once again, if you're a speculator, we do know we have the Alkalite coming out this year if everything stays as it should be, which is set during the High Republic. So a bunch of first appearances that could equal up to some fun cameos or whatever in live action at some point. They've really built the High Republic up to be something really, really cool.
Yeah.
So that is our final issue of Shadows of Starlight. Issue 1 and issue 4 of this, I think, are the best. Really, really fun. Then we have this Lionel U variant. This is General Vise on there. And we have a really cool 1 in 25 Raza variant with Marchion Ro on here that we're selling for $25.
Very nice. All right, next for me is Thanos #2. This is, I think, a 4 or 5 issue miniseries with Thanos, and in this one, he's still looking for the young woman named Roberta, who we met last issue, who he was looking for then too. But she doesn't know why. We do, or I think we find out. And I mean, well, I guess we knew from what the series. But she doesn't know why though. But at the end of last issue, the Illuminati showed up to protect her and to stop Thanos. They do seem to know why he is looking for her, but they don't bother to tell her. She's like, "What? I don't even know what's going on." And they're like, "Stay over there, young lady." And she's like, "But I don't even
It's
know."
not fair.
Yeah, they don't tell her anything. Most of the issue though is Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and the Hulk, who was
Nice.
not in the last issue. They recruit him for help. It's the three of them fighting Thanos head on, basically, while Reed and Blue Marvel tried to get Fresno back on Earth, which sounds weird. But at last issue, Thanos' ship kind of put a dome, very Brainiac style, put a dome around Fresno and then lifted it up into space. So they're trying to get it back down to Earth and get everybody out of the way or out of harm's way. And it's just a big fight. It's cool to see Hulk and Thanos go at it, Infinity War style, So, yeah, if you liked the first one, just wanted to let you know that the second issue is out this week.
And really, there's only one thing you need to mention is the panel that you sent me where it's Thanos driving a little car.
Thanos, there is a panel where Thanos rips the roof off of a truck and
Yeah.
drives it.
Yeah, that's all I care about.
Yeah. So there's our A cover right there, and then we have this really cool ROM variant as well. We'll see another one of these later in the show. We're gonna have to start having some ROM variant covers, but I'd like to see ROM and Thanos meet.
Yeah,
They can meet up. They're both spacefaring, you know.
yeah. Okay, some more Star Wars this week, and I was very excited about this one. This is Darth Vader number 42, and this is our first post Dark Droids kind of back to regular issues of books in the Star Wars continuity, and this one's really cool because previously Masamida, who is one of like the Emperor's main go-to guys, he get put in charge of, hey, like go stop Vader because the Emperor just loves like messing with Vader. But when the Dark Droid stuff happened, all of that, it turns out after his attack, Vader actually became stronger. So the Emperor is not pleased, and he's going to turn to Sly Moore, who is on the cover right there, uh, who now has her own plan of taking Vader down. We get some really fun stuff in this. So we see this planet that's run by Imperials, but it does not have enough like security because the Empire doesn't really, they spread themselves thin. Um, and they keep getting attacked by the rebels, and we see a new group of rebels that are called MAR, and it stands for Machine Augmented Rebels.
Hmm.
So you've got some different rebels that have like weapons that come out of their backs or robot arms or stuff like this. So it's kind of an introduction of a new like class of rebels that's pretty cool. But of course, where does Vader come into this? He arrives on this planet and it makes pretty short work of them. Doesn't destroy them. You'll have to see. He's got some bigger plans as well. And maybe Sly Moore has other plans also where she wants to take down the Emperor. So maybe Vader and her are going to work together to take down the Emperor. It was a really good issue. The art in this by Adam Gorham was really good. It was different than kind of the previous Vader artists we've seen, but I really liked it. And I thought this was a great kind of return to form for Star Wars books after Dark Droid. So yeah, definitely check out Darth Vader number 42. And we've got a couple of really cool variants. So this is our Rebels 10th anniversary variant with Ahsoka, which is a very nice. I like how they kind of look like trading cards.
Yeah,
Always a sucker for that. And this really nice 1 in 25 Qua variant that we're selling for
yeah,
$20.
that was cool.
Vader books are great, like I always say, because you know he's not gonna lose. So
Yeah,
you just want to see how he wins.
yeah, all the
He's
awesome
gonna
stuff.
have really cool
Yeah.
ways of coming out on top.
All right, next for me is Marvel. Wait, yeah, Marvel Zombies Black, White, and Blood #4, and just like all the other Black, White, and Blood books, this is just an anthology book. This one gives us 3 more standalone stories. There's one called Strange Ass Bedfellows, which features Blade facing off against a horde of heroes who are now zombies. So it's very similar to Spider-Man 2099, but this is the regular Blade.
Blade's really pivoted from just vampires
Yeah.
to pretty much any kind of nightly creature.
Yeah, and this one's cool because he's trying to help a small group of humans get to the last remaining city on the planet, I guess. But when they get there, there's a whole entirely different threat there from the zombies. So it's like they're not safe anywhere. There's another story called Last Man Standing featuring the Punisher, Frank Castle Punisher,
Nice.
where he fights his way through a lab to where he finds a virus that can kill the zombies. But he along with the virus, he also finds a cure, so he's got like these 2 vials in his hand, and he has to figure out which one to use. So that's
That's
kind of
pretty
interesting.
cool. I
Yeah,
like to see Punisher in that situation.
yeah, yeah. And then there's one called Shauna of the Dead, featuring Shauna the She Devil, which is really
Nice.
cool. And she has to defend her son and the last few survivors in the Savage Land from a zombified Kazar and zombified dinosaurs. So in the
Nice.
Savage Land. So just yeah, it's all everything's black and white except for all the red bloody stuff. And I like that A cover because it's got Hulk and Thing on it, and they are in that first story. But yeah, just 3 more self-contained anthology stories.
Another kind of just fun.
Yeah, just pick it up and read it. You can read if you only read this issue, you don't need the other ones. It's just they're all standalone. And then we have this really cool 1 in 10 This is a
It's an
Todd Knock
homage
homage.
to
Uh,
uh,
eh,
Original Sin.
okay, I
Yeah,
can't quite remember.
that had it was like tan, had them standing there.
Okay,
Yep,
yeah. We're selling that one for $8.
very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, next up for me, we've got some amazing Spider-Man, featuring Kingpin. So last we left him, Kingpin has basically been like, "Hey, I'm gonna join this gang war now, and bring the backing of the Hellfire Club that
Mm-hmm.
he has." If you've been reading Iron Man, which is really cool because I've been reading Iron Man, so it's cool to see like they're it's all working
Yeah.
together. But Kingpin's son, the Rose, is one of the kind of contenders in this gang war, as well as the Beetle. And so basically, the parents come together of Kingpin and Tombstone to be like, hey, can we work this out
Yeah.
for our kids? Well, it turns out not.
Nope,
And
they
we have a
can't.
big fight between Kingpin and Tombstone that's a all out kind of just big strong guy versus big strong guy slugfest. All the while, we have Spider-Man and She-Hulk fighting the Hellfire kind of soldiers that Kingpin brought. And elsewhere, we have Beetle fighting the Rose. So you have like the dads fighting and then the kids fighting. With a pretty surprising ending that I'm like, oh, what's someone says something and you're like, oh, well, how's that the case? So
Mm.
we'll have to see. But another interesting issue in the gang war storyline, and I always like reading about Kingpin, so
Yeah,
a good
Kingpin's
one
great.
there. We've got some cool variants for this one. Actually, quite a few. So we have this Ryan Stegman ROM cover, which I mean, Ryan Stegman drawing Spider-Man is just
There's nothing better
there's
almost
nothing
than
better.
yeah.
We also have, of course, we got another Disney variant this time.
That is not Avengers. That's not an Avengers book. That is Amazing
And this is
Spider-Man.
not Avengers #1 if you're confused.
That's right. That is not the
Children
one.
characters again,
Yeah.
you may see some
That is if you
differences.
see that on eBay going for thousands of dollars, it's not.
We also have this Pete Woods cover, which is really fun. A lot of momentum in that one. And we have this Bianchi variant. This is a 1 in 25 that we're selling for $15.
And next for me is Fantastic Four, number 15, with a big old brain on the cover with eyes.
I did
And
really like that cover. That feels so
yeah,
like what adventures the Fantastic Four found themselves in this
well, when I
time.
saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's crazy looking," but it only about 5 minutes ago clicked with me why that's on there. So it does kind of make sense for the book. Alex Ross, though, doing Fantastic Four is awesome.
Yep.
But so if
If you know, you know.
the bad thing that or the bad thing, but he did it for a good reason. Reed zapped an entire city block of New York 1 year into the future. That happened a while back. We saw in a flashback, and everybody got mad at him for it. Well, it is now 1 year later, and it's time for regular time to catch up. And so basically, what that means is the entire city block should just reappear where it's supposed to be. But before that can happen, the Fantastic Four has to go up against what is essentially a rogue AI. And we saw that last issue. So if you read it last issue, it does sort of kind of continue into this a little bit, and it's really interesting. And so for a while, it's like the Fantastic Four, really Reed Richards kind of matching wits with this rogue AI. But then the story starts to change and go in a direction that I wasn't expecting, to the point where the last few pages, just like Batman Scooby Doo, it kinda got me in the feels a little bit, with the way it ended. Like, it was a really kind of a beautiful ending to the story. Kinda sad, I didn't tear up, but it made me feel ways and things like
Feel
that.
feels.
Yeah, like, so it was really interesting. So, and then, well, I won't tell you anything about the rest of it, but yeah, just another, if you've been enjoying Ryan North's, Fantastic Four, and if you did read the last issue, pick this one up because it is kind of a continuation. And then this is going to open the door for some new stories, how it all wrapped up. So, very cool brain on the cover. I wonder what Alex Ross thought when he drew that. Like, I bet he had fun. We're going a floating brain. And then we have this really cool. This is the Marvel Masterpieces variant. This is from the card series back in the early '90s. I want to say '92,
Hildebrand.
'93. Yeah, the Hildebrands. Galactus is not in this issue though, so don't get fooled. But still a very cool cover.
It's been a really good run of Fantastic Four.
Yeah, because they're all almost one and done stories.
Yeah, it's kind of like after all these big like multi-part Fantastic Four runs, we have one that's like, yeah, you can pretty much just grab an issue and it wouldn't be too hard just to fall right into
Yeah.
it. Okay, next up for me, I just have the next issue of Conan the Barbarian. This one's great. This is part two of the storyline that started the last one with Doug Braithwaite doing the art. And this is just really fun. Another really fun comic, even though it's very violent and mature, but it's more of that classic Conan feel. The crew that Conan's running with, this group of thieves, got tasked with finding this I don't know, just random object type thing when they touched it and unleashed these ghosts, these spirits that are now kind of tormenting the team. All the while, Conan is still. This takes place right after kind of the death of Balit,
Yeah.
and he's grieving that, but he's kind of distracting himself with this new mission. But it seems like maybe some of these spirits are gonna follow him home
Mm.
even after the mission. So really cool. The art is fantastic. There's some great action in here, and just dialogue feels classic and fun. Really cool, and I like seeing the return, even though it's in flashbacks of Bully. You can get some really cool moments with her in this one. So another just highly recommend. I feel like this is one of our least talked about but most highly recommended books.
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
what is there to say? It's great, and like if you like Conan, then there's no reason you shouldn't be reading
Yeah, it's
this.
sword and sorcery, Conan just going on adventures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not like, oh, they're setting up the next big Conan event. Like,
Nope.
no, this is just another great issue of a classic feeling Conan. There
Hmm.
is a cool ad in here for the new Savage Sword of Conan
Yeah.
coming out in February
Excited
that
for
I'm
that.
very excited about. So stay tuned for that because we'll be covering that when it comes out. And like always, we've got great Conan covers. So first we've got this Patrick Zurcher variant where he's wearing his first appearance helmet.
Yeah, he wore that through the first few issues
Yeah.
of the original Marvel Conan
Yeah.
Barbarian
A
books.
little glad he dropped it. It's a very odd looking
Yeah.
little cap, but this one's great.
Huh.
This is the Joey Spidotto little golden books cover, which like if this was like square and someone's like, no, this is real, I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I believe it because little golden books go hard. But that one's really fun. And then we have these great. This is the Dan Panosian variant. But wait, there's more because there is the foil version of the Dan
That one's
Panosian
great.
cover. So very, very cool in there.
All right, so next for me is Batman number 141. This is part 3 of the Mind Bomb storyline. And this mostly is just Batman going up against Failsafe again. We saw a lot of that in the Failsafe story arc, and we know how Batman didn't fare so well, and now he's going up against Failsafe again. But this time, Failsafe is in possession of the Zur and Awe personality. So holy cow! So now it's like even worse. And how does Batman
And so
win?
it's like Batman versus the essence of Batman.
Batman versus an unstoppable machine that he built that is in possession of his own personality with no limits. Like it's crazy, and it's just a whole lot
They've
of
worked out a
action.
way to make like the ultimate
Yeah,
foe for
yeah. So
Batman.
just really cool. Just if you've been reading the last parts, you'll love this. Jorge Jimenez on art, it looks great. Like Chip Zdarsky is always a home run. So just the next part of that, just really cool. That's our A cover right there. We got some cool variants for this too.
Yeah.
This is a Massafara variant. That's very
So
classic looking. You know, you've got the blue and gray Batman with the Joker fish, it looks like. Or well, I don't know. They
I
don't
don't
have.
know what that. It's like
Or is
a
that?
tongue snake.
Yeah, I don't know what that's supposed to be. It's like Batman wrapped up in a snake in the Joker's mouth. I don't know. But very
Very
cool.
disturbing.
Yeah. This is the is this David?
That
Yeah,
looks
this is
like David
David Finch.
Finch.
Yep.
David
Oh
Finch always draws a Joker with like shaved sides of his
yeah.
head.
And I was gonna say Joker is not in this book, but he is in this book. Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah.
Whoa.
And then this is the what do they call these? The glitch covers. Like it's
Yeah.
a foil cover. That's the Zuran Aw bat symbol. So and it's purple, yellow. That looks really cool. We've got this 1 in 25 claw variant that we're selling for $15. I really like that. His cape is sort of in the bat symbol.
Mm.
And then we have this 1 in 50 win variant that we're selling for $30.
Very cool. Next up, I've got Shazam issue 7. So check that out. We've got Shazam fighting Black Adam on the cover. This one is really fun because if you've been reading Shazam, you know the tone of Shazam. So it's a very epic looking cover. I'll say that yes, the Captain and Black Adam do fight in this, but it feels not as like world shaking as kind of the stories nowadays
Yeah.
do. This feels very much kind of like a classic Golden Age or Silver Age fight between two big heroes. Also, we meet Captain Bizarro,
Yeah, he looks so cool. Yeah.
Bizarro Captain,
Yeah.
who is
Which makes sense that the names are
the
backwards.
name is
Yeah.
backwards also, but he defeats them in a really interesting way. I won't give it all away, but just imagine, uh, because he has the wisdom of Solomon, so he basically is, says stuff like, "Well, if you're the opposite of me, it means you're really dumb, and
Yeah.
it means that you're not super strong, you're really weak and stuff." And he kind of beholds him to these rules. It's very, very fun. So, guess first appearance of Bizarro Captain. Uh, he doesn't quite have like the weird face and
Okay.
stuff that the regular Bizarro has. But I thought that was really fun, and it's just a really fun issue if you've been reading Shazam. Continues with that. There's still more T-Rexes that are really into
Yeah.
paperwork and legal documents. So yeah, just a fun one there, and no variant cover for that one.
Oh. Well, last for me is Blue Beetle number 5, and I want to say this is the I think this is the next to last issue of this first story arc, not of the series, but just of the story arc. And Blue Beetle and Company, they have formed a plan to take out the Blood Scarab. Who there's a couple of really cool shots of the Blood Scarab, and it's just a cool design, the
Yeah.
black and the red. I love the way he looks. He's got a cape and everything. So they got this plan to take him out because he's been pretty formidable all throughout this story arc. But as you might expect, it doesn't quite go to plan and things go wrong and they have to deal with that. But just wanted to let you know that the next issue of Blue Beetle is out. If you've been reading this, then you will want to pick this up. So there's our really cool A cover right there. And then we have this really cool Ivan Rice. Wow, I didn't even realize
Oh,
that. Ivan Rice and Brad Anderson cover. I should have recognized that. But yeah, that looks super cool.
Ivan Rice just always knocking out of the
Yep,
park.
absolutely.
And the last one for me is Birds of Prey number 5. I'll be honest, I did not get to read this kind of as in depth as I wanted to. I just kind of skimmed through it. But this is really interesting because there is a different artist on this book, and it's an artist I don't recognize named Eris Dean, Deyn, and gave me kind of a Dan Panosian feel a little bit.
Okay.
Very interesting panelization and ways of playing with the page. The storyline is, just continuing the Birds of Prey's mission on Themyscira and kind of what they've discovered there the whole time. But really fun issue if you've been enjoying it. And we've got some really cool variants
I
for
like
it.
that one.
Yeah, this is the Chris Bocciolo variant. Very
Yeah.
stylized. I don't
I
remember
got
Barda having this big motorcycle, but
yeah, I got Akira vibes off of that.
oh yeah. We also have this is the Scott Forbes variant. This is very cool. And lastly, I feel like this one's going to be very popular. This is a 1 in 25 Zerdy variant that we're selling for $55.
That one is
Black
cool.
Canary getting some tattoos, and it's fun to look at which tattoos they each have because Harley's got a poison ivy and a
Yeah, I see a
Catwoman.
Barda on Canary's
And
arm.
Canary also has some really nice Green Arrow tattoos
Okay.
on there and stuff. So yeah, this one I do not think will last long. So yeah, check it out on our website. And speaking of which, usually I do this earlier, but
Huh.
no time like the present. Head over to infinityflux.net right now where you can order these books we just talked about. You can pre-order upcoming books. We're starting to get back into some good pre-order stuff coming up this coming Wednesday.
Right.
Where DC's got some new stuff to check out. So head over there, check it all out. Everything you pre-order, you get 10% off of, and you can use the code I love Flux at checkout and get 10% off your first order. So that code does not expire as long as it's your first time buying something there. And you get the pre-order, you get the double the 10% off just to give you an extra incentive. So very cool. And that is it for our show. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here in 2024. So we've got a whole bunch of really cool stuff coming up this year. Some stuff that we're not ready to announce yet, but be looking for even more fun content coming to our channel and more fun ways of maybe interacting with some of y'all and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we're just getting bigger and better all the
Yeah.
time.
I'm excited.
Yep, but all focused on comics and how much we love comics. So thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, do all that good stuff. And until next time,
See ya.
see ya.